Hey there, Mr. Skeen in class. I'm going to be going over our summary of Chapter 3 called Biopsychology today. And basically this chapter covers the impact and relation biology has on psychology. An example of this being genetics, studied in biology, must be known to study psychology because it relates so much with the brain functions, and behavior and personality. Okay, let's dive right in. So in this chapter we learned about number 1 being genotypes and phenotypes. Genotypes being the more internal structure of your genetic makeup and how those differ or are similar to your parents. Phenotypes being the observable or external makeup of an individual. This could be your eye color, your widow's peak on your brow, or your chin, or your jaw width. And next, we learned about the neuron structure, mainly being there's the nucleus, of course we all knew, and then there's the soma is what it's called, or the cell body is another name for that. It's kind of the overview of the cell. And there's the axon, which is more or less a bridge from the cell body to neurotransmitters and the terminal buttons. And neurotransmitters are what, I guess, more or less go off when you feel pain or a sense of touch on your skin. And another thing we learned in this chapter was the parts of the brain, whether that being the more in detailed parts, the cortexes, or the lobes, such as the frontal lobe, the parietal lobe, etc. And to go over a few, there's the cerebral cortex, which is the extension of membranes that run down the middle of your brain, connecting the two hemispheres. And these, of course, are a bridge acting to communicate both sides of the hemispheres so they can transmit to the body and tell it what to do. And then as far as the lobes go, there are the frontal lobe, of course, the most known one, which has to do with reason, emotion, and memory. And next there is the occipital lobe, which is the vision center located at the back of the brain. And yeah, that processes all your vision. That is the main function of the occipital lobe. And then there's the temporal lobe, which is located on the sides, both sides. And that has to do with hearing. And yeah, that's about it. There's also the auditory cortex in there, and that is the more in detail hearing center of your temporal lobes. And then there's the parietal lobe, which is immediately behind the frontal lobe, kind of in the more center of your brain. And this processes all of your other sensory information, like how it feels when temperature changes, or pain, or just a sense of touch, for that matter. And then we also learned in this chapter about the other parts of the brain, more in detail, being the hippocampus, amygdalas, and hypothalamus. The hippocampus being the learning and memory center, the amygdalas being the emotion center. This has a great example of the Phineas Gage case, which the rod shot through under his eye, went through his brain. It damaged his amygdalas in the process. And this caused him to lack those emotional filters that we normally have. So he just spoke his mind, or initial thought, however rude or crude that may be, or vulgar for that matter. And yeah, he couldn't have those ties to emotion that we do regularly. Now the hypothalamus It regulates your body temperature, your appetite, your blood pressure, and your sexual motivation. It kind of is that gauge in your body telling you when you need something. And yeah, that was the most of what we learned in Chapter 3 of biopsychology. Thank you, Mr. Skeen in class. And I'm Dalton.